Hi.
Hi.
And so, how many of you have ever been somewhere where you heard a speaker and they shared something with you? It could be a whole message, it could be a word, it could be a quote or a phrase that totally transformed the way you saw the world. Raise your hand and say hi.
Hi.
And so my goal for you tonight is to change how you see about a couple of things. How you see your relationships, how you see connecting with people, and how you see leadership. Because success in anything, whether it's selling, whether it's leading people, whether it's running a business, is always 80% psychology and 20% skill. And so we're not going to spend time, and if it's not skill, it's technique in some businesses. And so we're not going to spend time talking about skill and technique. We're going to talk about the 80%. We're going to talk about what goes on between your 2 ears, and how you view leadership, what you think leadership is, and how you view communicating with people. If you want to learn, I want you to quickly say, I'm ready to learn.
Ready to learn.
So, basically, we're going to talk about 6 keys to leadership, and we're going to talk about 4 keys to connecting. Okay? And so, I'm here because I once heard someone say that the only reason to give a speech is to change the world. And so my goal tonight is that something I share tonight will impact someone in this room. See, I was once at a conference, and the guy put up on the board and said, someday someone will do something that'll impact someone else. And it will set in motion a series of events that will continue to have a ripple effect well beyond our immediate understanding. And I share that because I truly believe that something shared tonight will extend into a ripple effect in someone in here's business and someone in here's leadership, and keep moving on and have a ripple effect well beyond anything we could ever measure here. And so this may be a small room, but I promise you what we're going to talk about tonight is powerful stuff. Is that cool with you?
Yes.
So let's dive right in. What is leadership? And I'll tell you that a lot of the stuff I'm going to share with you comes from different places. All right? This stuff comes from all sorts of books. I'm going to give credit to everybody right now, because I have no clue who I learned what from. All right? I'll tell you that a lot of stuff I'm going to teach you comes from a trainer, a real estate trainer named Seth Campbell, who taught me a lot about leadership. A lot of it comes from John Maxwell. Some of this stuff comes from Mark Sanborn, another big leadership author. Some of it comes from a book you and I have talked about, Good to Great. And another one's from Fierce Conversations. Now, any of you that want to connect afterwards, I'll give you a list of the top 10 books, in my opinion, on leaderships. I'll send it to you by email, and we can talk about that later. So, basically, the first thing is, what is leadership? So I was sitting in a training once, and the guy said, leadership is teaching people how to think so they can get what they want when they want it. Write that down if you have pen and paper. I highly recommend it. Leadership is teaching people what to think so they can get what they want when they want it. See, so many people, they see leadership as management. They see leadership as controlling. They see leadership as influencing, motivating. It's always about them pushing someone to do something. But when you really think about the word empowerment, as a leader, your job is to empower people. Yes or yes? Say yes.
Yes.
And so when you want to empower people, micromanaging them, teaching them what to do, teaching them how to do things isn't as powerful as how to think. So when you're working with people, whether it's your business, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your people in your company, right? You want to make sure that you're thinking about teaching them how to think so they can get what they want when they want it, not what to do. See, most business owners are always teaching technique. They're saying, here's what you do. Right? A lot of you guys are in real estate. Who's in real estate here? A number of you guys, right? Real estate trainers, they'll say, okay, you need to sell a house, go do this. But they don't teach the person how to think. They don't teach the person that they need to see themselves as someone that could be a top producer. They don't teach them to have a vision. They don't teach them to change their daily habits. They don't teach them to change their beliefs. And because of it, they're focused on the 20% and they're wondering why the person's not getting business. And the reason is, it's simple, 80% psychology. Does that make sense? So leadership is teaching people how to think so they can get what they want when they want it. And so the majority of this message is just going to challenge the way you think about a couple things about leadership. You guys okay with me challenging how you think? Yes. Just nod your heads. So we're going to give you 6 keys. Number 1 is leaders take responsibility for the circle of influence. Leaders take responsibility for the circle of influence. See, one of my good friends and business partners, Joseph Diaz, he's always saying that your circle is your ceiling. And people always hear you're the sum of the 5 people surround yourself with, but when you really think about it, your circle is your ceiling. Who you spend the most time with is going to be your ceiling. Who you let impact your thinking is going to be your ceiling. Right? And some of you are spending too much time with the wrong people. Some of you are spending too much time with negative people. You're spending too much time with people that are becoming your ceiling, with small thinkers. Some of you already know this. Nod your head if you already know this. Now, those of you that already know this and already are picky about who you spend your time with, I'm going to challenge you to think that maybe the people that are positive thinkers aren't big enough thinkers for you to get to your next level. See, I learned something that for a long time I felt like I was in the best environment in my company. I felt like all the people around me were great. They all were people that were like law of attraction and, you know, they were positive people and good energy and they knew about how they were responsible for their life and what's going on. But they weren't operating at the level I wanted to operate at. And so there's a certain moment we have to realize that, hey, even the positive people might not be your right circle of influence. And so I hope that most of you are here. The reason I share this as the first key, because it actually makes no sense with the order of the rest of the message, is simple because you guys are here hopefully because you want to upgrade your circle of influence. You're here hopefully because you believe that proximity is power. See, one of the things I love about that audio is that he talks a lot about choice and things unfolding. He talks a lot about energy. How many of you believe that energies in the universe attract to each other in some capacity? Raise your hand. And if you've missed everything else I talk about, the main thing I want you guys to get out of this is to go where to spend your time with people whose energy you resonate with. Right? In your business, in your life, in your relationships, you can tell there are people who in a 2-minute conversation, you'll build more rapport and better relationship and more trust than you've built over 5 years with other people. Have you met someone like that? Raise your hand and say, ah. Have you met someone that in 2 minutes of meeting them, you can already tell that they're probably going to change your life? Raise your hand. Right? And so what I'm sharing with you is too many of us, we're ignoring our intuition. We're ignoring knowing that proximity is power. I realized I was at a conference a couple months ago, and I realized that some of the people I care most about, that are the best impact on my life, that are the best people to have in my circle of influence, I'm simply allowing location or proximity to be a problem. I'm simply allowing them to be like, oh yeah, I see them once in a while, instead of realizing that maybe it makes sense to go outside my comfort zone and stick myself around great people. Because iron sharpens iron. How many of you agree with that? Say I agree.
I agree.
Right? Iron sharpens iron. You got to surround yourself with people on the same mission as you. Right? There's a quote from Phil of Macedonia. He said, an army of deer led by a lion is more feared than an army of lions led by a deer. But leadership expert Mark Sanborn says that an army of lions led by a lion is much better than all that. And I truly believe that we're here because everyone here has a little bit of lion in them. Right? You're here because you have some lion in you. And some of you are already roaring. Some of you got like these little baby lions and you're kind of like learning to walk, ready to grow in your mane. Right? You got like little Simbas running around. And what I'm saying is that you got to make sure you surround yourself with lions. Okay? Because you can try to turn a sheep into a lion all you want. It's just never going to happen. So what I'm saying is when you meet a lion, it's worth you building a relationship. Right? I think about that the other day. I had someone that was in the same industry as me that I've never met, never talked to, Facebook friends, know that I should meet them, know that we'd get along, know they're a top producer, know that we'd and just didn't cross paths. And for the longest time I'm like waiting for something and maybe something, and I realized, you know what the hell am I waiting for? Right? Like attracts like. You sit with someone for 5 minutes that has similar energy and they're going to like you, am I right? And so when you realize that, you got to go outside your comfort zone. So I called this dude up. I'm like, yo, when do we get coffee? He's like, what? I'm like, I want to take you to coffee. I have a feeling that we can help each other. When can we do it? Now, if someone doesn't have the same type of energy, you'd be like, what the heck are you talking about? Right? Dave Knight, when I first met Dave Knight, he called me. He's like, yo, we're going for coffee. It's pretty much what he said. Now that I think about it, that was Dave's script.
I'm going to introduce you to some girls, too.
Yeah, that was what he said. No, I'm kidding. So Dave Knight calls me one day. He's like, hey, we need to meet. And I'm like, okay, we need to meet. Like, what? And 2 minutes of talking to him, I'm like, yeah, me and this guy are going to get along. Right? So what I'm saying is leadership, when you think about leadership, you've got to take responsibility for your circle of influence. If your circle of influence is dragging you down, or your circle of influence isn't bringing you to the level you need to be at, you've got to take full responsibility. You want to be a multi-millionaire, who do you follow? Millionaires. Right? Poor people give you advice all the time, but if their advice is good, why don't they take it? I used to joke, one of my managers used to always say this, well, you want to be a millionaire, who do you follow? And I'd be like, billionaires. Right? And so, there's a lot of people out there that spend their life and their time studying millionaires, but they really want to be a billionaire, and then they become billionaire, and they wonder why, because they're studying millionaires. Now, I'm obviously exaggerating, but what I'm getting at is that you have to always be looking to keep upgrading your circle of influence. You have to be looking for the next person that you might not have made the decision, but the universe might have pushed across your path, that you realize you probably should connect with. How many of you have met someone in the last 30 days that you think could change your life or your business if you built a better relationship with them? Raise your hand. Look, all of you, write their name down. If you got a pen and paper, write that person down. Right? And go out of your way to initiate a little bit deeper conversation, a little bit deeper relationship. It's so easy in this day of digital stuff to just have these artificial relationships, to never have anything genuine. Right? We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So number 2, I stole this straight from Keller Williams training, so I got to give credit. Leaders lead with questions, not answers. Leaders lead with questions, not answers. And what that leads to is that leaders don't solve problems, they teach. This is the biggest thing for those of you. How many of you manage people? Raise your hand. Okay, those of you that manage people, you definitely want to hear this, right? We talked about empowerment earlier. Well, leaders don't solve problems, they teach. So when someone comes to a leader with a problem, most leaders are typically like, oh, here's your solution to your problem. But what they're doing is they're taking away that person's power. And not only that, you're making yourself, those of you that want leverage in your life or your business, by making your people come to you to get the solution to the problem, they need to always come to you. So Robert Jerome's managing 150 people, and they need Robert Jerome's help, they go back to Robert Jerome, right? But if Robert's an awesome leader, Robert's going to stop and he's going to say, hey, let me ask you a question. Okay, you have a problem with getting listing appointments. We'll use real estate again, it's simple. Who are 5 people you can reach out to right now that are great at doing that? Where's one place you could spend your night learning about that? What's one book you could read? What's one seminar you could go to? Great ideas. How about you do research for this week and you're going to speak at my meeting next week about it? Right? Do you guys get what I'm saying? You got to own the relationship. Real leaders don't solve problems, they teach. So every single time someone on my team comes to me with a problem now, I've learned to never solve their problem. I've learned to tell them, no, you're on the team because you're on the team for a reason. You work with us for a reason. I believe in your ability to solve problems, and the best thing about your problem is that it's yours. I want you to solve it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so but if I could get involved in the process and I tell that person, hey, oh, let me get involved in the solving of this problem that should be your problem, I'm taking away their power and their ability to keep learning to solve problems. Leadership teaches people how to think so they can get what they want when they want it. Who understands that? Raise your hand. We'll move on. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Leaders focus on connecting, not communicating. There's a really, really, really good book by John Maxwell called Everyone Communicates If You Connect. And this is a really big key to the message. You see, so many people that we talked about earlier, they're busy going through the motions, having conversations, but they never cut to the core. They never ask questions like, what's your greatest goal in life? Or what keeps you up at night? What's your biggest challenge? They never cut through the bullshit, right? They have these artificial relationships, oh, what do you do? Oh, I do this. Oh, cool. You know? You guys get what I'm saying? And that's why I love this forum, because it's all about people coming here to get together, to meet good people, and actually talk about stuff that matters. Not stuff that's like, oh, where'd you drink last week? Oh, cool. Do you know this person too? Sweet. Cheers. You know? That's BS, right? There are so many people that just don't take responsibility for realizing that connecting is more important than just communicating. And real leaders, they realize that the conversation is the relationship. Every single conversation you have with someone does one of 3 things. It grows the relationship, it flatlines it, or it destroys it. It grows it, it flatlines it, it destroys it. And too many people are simply just talking. Hey Zach, what's up? Oh, cool. Put it up. If it didn't grow the relationship, it flatlined it. And so every time you talk to someone, you might want to focus on what could we be doing to connect on a deeper level? What could I be doing to show them I actually care? What could I be doing to actually listen? So many of us have an agenda though when we're talking to people. We're talking to people, we're not really listening, we're either venting, we're either selling, we're either influencing, we're manipulating, we're doing something other than just listening. And the best leaders out there, they move beyond it because they realize that, you know what? The best thing I can do to make people like me, to build rapport with them, is let them talk. And I'm guilty of it all the time. But I know when I sit with someone on a one-on-one, my biggest goal is how much can I get them to talk? Because if I get them to talk for 2 hours and I've asked like 10 questions and they did all the talking, then we're going to get along great. How do you experience that? Raise your hand. How many of you also made the mistake of getting into a situation where you end up doing all the talking and you're like, shit, I didn't even ask about them. We didn't build a rapport. How many of you have done that? So there's a lot of questions to be asked people, but I'm going to challenge everyone in here is to learn to ask deeper questions, to learn to confront deeper emotions, learn to confront what you're seeing, more difficult conversations. I'm talking with someone, they look confused, I'm going to stop and say, hey, you look really confused, or you look concerned, what just happened? Right? Grant Cardone, one of my favorite sales trainers, he tells these stories about what he does when, you know, you're dealing with a husband and wife and the husband starts like dozing off and not paying attention. And I coach sales reps all the time and go into people's houses to sell kitchen knives, right? And they're sitting with a husband and wife who saw them to help some college kid get a scholarship who gets paid anyways, and this kid's trying to sell them a set of knives that costs $1,000. So it's not necessarily the easiest sale in the world, right? And they're always like, well, the lady loved it, she thought it was so cool, she was like ready to buy it, and the husband was like looking at me like an alien. And I was like, well, what'd you say to him? Like, what do you mean? Well, you sat and let him look at you like an alien for an hour-long presentation, and you expected the deal to close at the end? Right? What do you need to do? You need to confront it. Hey, bud, what's going on with you? What's up? You won't talk to me? You won't look at me? You're sitting over your chair, eyes rolling in the back of your head. What's going on? Right? Does that make sense? Too many people are so scared they just push through it. They know something's up, they see it on their face, and they don't address it. Real leaders, they address it head on. They say, dude, you look really concerned. What the hell's up? Even if I'm wrong, I'll go, no, I'm not concerned, I'm confused. Okay, perfect. But even the act of me asking that shows that I'm in tune. Right? Guys, I'll share with you, I'm not the expert, okay? Some of you guys have your ladies here, I'm not the expert. But I promise you, if you're more in tune, when you talk to females especially, because that's, like, how many of you guys, have ever been, or ladies, you guys probably all experienced this. Ladies, you're talking about a story or a situation or something, and the guy's trying to solve the problem you don't want it solved. Raise your hand. They're like, okay, here's all you need to do this. You got it. And you're like, no, just listen. Let me tell you about this. And you're like, no, here's the solution. We don't need to listen. Right? And it happens all the time. And the reason is because there's a difference between masculine and feminine energy, right? Masculine energy is about completion. It's about finishing it, accomplishing the task, finishing it, things, achieving a goal, checking something off the list. Feminine energy is about the motion. So what I'm getting at is that if you're in tune with other people, you're going to build a lot better rapport, especially people that have similar energy. Because again, there's a reason that like-minded energy attracts, right? I told a great story about running to John Morgan. And I could tell that someone like Ryan, in a 2-minute conversation with John Morgan, is going to resonate with the guy. Now Ryan might have been nervously like, oh shit, I didn't even know I was meeting John Morgan. Right? He walked right in, John Morgan was there, he walked into his office, he's sitting there, and he was like picking up a check from someone else, and he was like, he was supposed to pick up a check from John's office, and he like walked in, and they're like, John, we'll see you now. And he sat there, he's like, oh, like I didn't know I was gonna, right? But you can tell that Ryan's a fired up guy, he's got good energy, he takes responsibility for his energy, which is one of the other keys. And so when he sits with someone like John Morgan, you have to know that you have faith that your energy will attract. What I'm getting is some of us are self-conscious, some of us are insecure when it comes to networking, but realize that if you're the right type of person, if you're authentic, if you give up being perfect for being authentic, as my mentor Hal Elrod always says, just focus on being you, you're going to attract the right people in your life, you're going to push away the wrong ones. Right? There are clients out there that might seem like great prospects, but their energy is completely opposite of yours, and the best thing to do is let them be repelled. Right? Some people are trying to tread the line, making everyone like them, and because of it, no one loves them. Right? I already know someone in this room is going to think I'm too aggressive, I'm too loud, I'm too fast, I make too big body language, something. Right? They're not going to like it. Right? They're going to be like, who the hell is this kid and why is he so fired up? Right? Someone else could go home and be like, dude, that guy was really fired up, that was cool. It's okay. Does that make sense though?
Yeah.
So, let's move forward. Leaders focus on connecting, not communicating. So they know the conversation, the relationship. Let's go with 4 keys to connecting. This is important because it's so easy to get caught up in emotions. It's so easy to not realize you're not connecting with people, and then it takes a moment where someone asks you if you're connecting with people for you to be like, dang, I haven't been connecting with people. Who here feels that way right now? Who here realize that you could maybe go a little bit deeper in your conversation with people, but you're staying on the surface? So, 4 keys to connecting. Now, connection always trumps communication, and empathy is crucial. And the goal is to move everyone into a deeper conversation than wherever they started. Right? You want to always make the relationship better, stronger, not flatline. So if I'm talking to Robert and I've known him for a while, we can have an artificial conversation, or I can be like, what's really going on in your life? And we can have a real conversation. We can build a lot better rapport. Right? Some of you have great friends in this room, but you can build even better connections. You've got people in your mastermind. You could probably ask one question that takes you guys to a new level. So what is the question? Think about it. So connecting. 4 things about connecting. Number 1, connecting always focuses on others. You want to connect with someone, you got to be focused on them. Even if I'm trying to sell somebody something, when I'm sitting with them, I'm focused on them because I don't need to sell them right now. It's unimportant. I sit and I let Robert talk for 15 minutes, he's going to like me. Right? And I'll tell you a quick story. It's a great realization I had. So I sat with a mortgage guy that called me one day, out of the blue. He's like, hey, you know a lot of realtors, let's sit together, let's grab coffee. And I'm thinking, like, dude, I got like a dozen clients that are mortgage people that I like a lot more, but all right, let's do it. So I'm thinking, I don't even need to sell this guy anything. So I'm sitting with this guy, I'm just asking him, telling me about your business, tell me about your life, tell me about this, asking questions, asking questions, asking questions, asking questions, asking questions, asking questions. We talk for 2 hours. At the end, he's like, you know, we could probably, I know we met to like talk about referring to other people, but I could probably like buy stuff from you. And I just laughed in my head. I'm thinking, dude, I'm trying not to sell you stuff and you want to buy stuff from me. Like I didn't talk about what I do, I didn't pitch what I do, I didn't mention what I do, I did everything to deflect from what I did. He's asking me questions, trying to take control, and I'm like, that's a great question. Let me ask you a question. How'd you learn to ask such great questions? By the way, it's a really good one. Those of you that are getting a conversation with a ninja, okay? You guys know the people I'm talking about. They're so good at asking questions that you go in there, like you go to meet with a great prospect, for example, if you're in selling, and they're so well trained in communicating that they get you doing all the talking, and your whole goal is to get them to do all the talking. And every time you say something to them, they ask you a much better question. Who's ever met someone like that? So here's the question. Here's your default question. You know, Monique, that's a fantastic question, and I've noticed that you ask really great questions. Let me ask you something. Where'd you learn to ask such great questions? And they'll tell you. That's a great question, isn't it? Yeah. Most people worry too much about what to say. They don't worry enough about what to ask. If you're taking notes, you want that one down. Salespeople, leaders, doesn't matter. They worry so much about what to say, they don't worry about what to ask. What to ask is way more important than what to say. You know why? Because thinking is the process of asking and answering questions. Some of you are going, is that right? Yeah, it is. All you do all day is ask yourself questions and answer them. Where is this? What do I need to do next? What am I thinking about next? That's all your brain literally does. You just haven't thought about it until I said it probably. So right now you're probably asking yourself if thinking is really just asking and answering questions. And you're trying to answer the question right now. Who's doing that right now? Raise your hand. Okay, the rest of you probably didn't follow what I said. So thinking is just the process of asking and answering questions. If you learn to ask questions, you learn to control the conversation, even without controlling the conversation. So questions always lead people to a new direction. One of the things we train a ton of receptionists. We train people in how to schedule people for interviews and make sure they show up, basically. We train them how to get in the door, show up in the door. We recruit thousands of people a year in our company, right? And one of the things we always teach them is whenever they ask a difficult question, you respond and then you ask a question to seize control of the conversation again. So they'll ask someone like, well, tell me more about the job. And they'll say, well, such and such and such and such. What were you looking for? And da 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 da. Like they'll always seize control, right? So many people, they'll answer the question, they'll stop there and they're done. Salespeople learn to always ask a better question. Answer every question with a question. One of my favorite things is, oh, does this come in such and such color? Would you like it in such and such color? Yes? Okay, here's the order form. Let's do it. You know, it's the same thing with leadership, though. Does everyone follow what I'm saying? Leaders learn to ask great questions. So, 4 things, like I said. Number 1, they always focus on others. Number 2 is connecting always requires extra effort. Connecting always requires extra effort. Listen, if you haven't been taking extra effort to connect, you're not doing it. It's that simple. If you're not consciously thinking about how can I connect with this person, not just talk with them right now, if you're not literally having the conversation in your head while you're having the conversation, if you haven't actively thought about just listening and not thinking, if you haven't actively thought about engaging them and making great eye contact and actually having a conversation that goes beyond the bullshit, then I promise you're just not doing it. Right? So I hope everyone here takes that to heart and realizes that, hey, when you're meeting with people, these networking functions, if you're the one person that asks a great question and actually listens, you're going to make so much more progress than all the crap people are busy talking about. So number 3 is connecting goes beyond words. Connecting goes beyond words. Where's my life coach friend at? Raise your hand. Life coach friend, body language life coach friend right there. Yeah, connecting goes way beyond words. Oh, I know. Connecting goes way beyond words. It's body language, it's looking interested, it's being interested. When you meet with someone and they're looking at their phone, immediately, even if they're doing a great job talking with you, there's a whole different level of energy when they go, you know what, let me put this aside. Let's talk. Right? Just the act of saying, you know what, I don't need it, you don't break it for a second, it doesn't faze you. That's connecting. Right? People notice that immediately, even if they don't think they notice it, they notice it, they feel it. When you're fully engaged, right, the thing that brings people, that attracts energy the most, and I don't mean attraction in a sexual way. I mean attraction, like feeling attractive energy from a person, being attracted to their energy, liking them, being likable is probably a better word, is being fully present. To everyone out there, it's being fully present. If you're fully present, when someone's telling you a story, when they're doing something, if you're fully engaged, who has a friend that's great at this? They got a great big smile on their face, they listen to everything you say, they're great at it, and they just listen. They don't have an agenda. Who here knows someone like that? It's because they're completely fully present. And so, number 4 is connecting is an acquired skill. Connecting is an acquired skill. We all got to constantly focus on connecting. You want to get better at connecting? How many books did you read this year on connecting? How many seminars did you go to? How many tapes did you listen to? How many CDs? Right? What are you doing to connect? All right, let's move forward. We talked about leadership being teaching people. Okay, leaders take responsibility for circle instance. Number 3, leaders know it starts with personal leadership. This is my biggest one to me. Because I truly wake up every day knowing that my leadership today, my personal leadership, is going to impact other people. And I seriously think about that every morning. I think about the fact that the 4 people on my team are employed because I get my ass out of bed in the morning and I work. I think about that there's other people in my industry that sell to the same people that are impacted by how hard I work. I know that me showing up at meetings and after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and pumping it on the Facebook, that there's other people that sell stuff to realtors too, and they're thinking, dang, I gotta get working. See, when you're a real leader, you decide to be a gauge for how other people should take activity. It's something Grant Cardone always talks about. To be a mirror for how other people should be thinking. It's not just about you. So many people are focused on their daily life, and if they're not managing, if they're not a leader, if it's not in your title right now, whether you might be a college kid, you might be an employee somewhere, you're saying, I'm not a leader, you have to realize you're impacting everyone around you on a daily basis. You're a leader. Do you talk to people? Do you have a pulse? Then be a freaking leader. It's pretty simple, right? I'm going to share with you that if you're alive right now, if you're listening to this, if you've got ears right now, if you can hear right now, if you can breathe right now, then your best days are yet to come. If you're alive right now, your best days are in front of you. So if you choose to be a better leader, you're going to make a much bigger impact on this world. And so, knowing to start with personal leadership, knowing this, that leaders, managers, raise your hand, you will always be the ceiling for your people. If you slow down, your people slow down. Know that you are the ceiling for your people. So unless you're leaving it all on the table every day, you're training people to not do it. Right? And that's why I work so hard. I work my ass off because I want everyone on my team to know that I'm outworking them. Like, for sure. I want other people that do other things to know that you might be keeping up, but you're not outworking me. Does that make sense? Leaders take responsibility for that. So, leadership should know the conversations of relationship. We talked about that. Leaders take responsibility for the energy they bring the world. That's number 5. Leaders take responsibility for the energy they bring the world. And it has a lot to do with what we just talked about. They decide to show up. They decide to get up. Right? They decide to wake up and attack the world. They don't sit in bed and hit their snooze button and wonder when they don't wait for motivation to hit them. Leaders are always asked, how do you always stay motivated? How do you have so much energy? What are you doing to stay motivated? What are you doing to have so much energy? And the truth is, you don't need to stay motivated. Everyone out there looking at how to stay motivated, it's bullshit. You don't stay motivated. You learn to take action with or without motivation. Because I've learned that if you take action without motivation, motivation finds a way to find you. Right? How many of you have ever had an appointment with somebody and you didn't want to go, but when you went, something really awesome happened? Raise your hand and say, yeah.
Yeah.
How many of you were excited to do your next appointment? Raise your hand and say, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of us can agree that sometimes if you just show up, motivation will find you. Decisions are being made by the universe in your life, pushing you, and the question is, are you going to step up to the plate, or are you just going to walk around? Are you going to walk around in a lull and not notice there's people you can be connecting with, there's deeper relationships you can be having, and there's iron that can be sharpening your iron, but you're too busy playing around with sheets? You guys follow me, yes or yes?
Yes.
Treat every person you meet like there's something amazing about them, and it's your job to find out what it is. I hope you guys write that down. That is the biggest key to connecting. When you meet someone, you want to tell yourself, there is something amazing about this person, and my job in this conversation is to uncover it. And all of a sudden, your level of respect for people, and your level, you stop judging people, you start respecting them at a very deep level. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's something amazing about this person. I don't want to just talk to them. I want to know what's amazing about you. I don't want to just say, hey, what's up? What do you do? Hey, what's your name? Hey, cool. And then I walk away and I'm like, what the hell was that guy's name again? He did something related to like this, right? No, I want to say, dude, okay, this person like crossed paths with me for a reason. I know this is like esoteric-ish. But like you guys get the point. Okay, there's a reason that I'm crossing the path with Vile right now. I'm going to shake his hand. I'm not going to be like, hey Vile, what's your name? Okay, cool. Yeah, he had a name, he came with a V. I'm going to be like, I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to literally be thinking, what's amazing about this guy? I'm going to talk to him for a minute. I'm going to ask him about his life. I'm going to ask him about his challenges. I'm going to ask him about his goals. I'm going to ask him what he's passionate about. I'm going to ask him what keeps him up at night. Somewhere in there, most lions, they roar. You got, how many of you know what I'm talking about? Say yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You ask a lion about what they're passionate about and they go, whoa. Here's what I'm passionate about, right? Those are the people you keep talking to. You ask them, what are you challenged with? I don't know, that boss is bit. That's not who you keep talking to. You find the next line. Does it make sense? Yeah. So, all right, finding the next, treating everyone, another part, easy way to sum it up is treat everyone like a rock star. Like if you met a rock star, you're like, whoa. Like I was the other day, they did an opening at Vito at Rocket Brews, and Gene Simmons was there with Paul Stanley, and I didn't get in. I drove out there to try to get in, and I'm seeing like, but I could see these people like all like following around Gene Simmons, like, oh my God, it's Gene Simmons, right? And I'm thinking like, you just treated everyone like a rock star, like, oh my God, it's Ron Plaza. What's up, dude? It's so good to see you, right? If you treat everyone like a rock star and you treat everyone like a puppy, that's the second part of it. Why do people love puppies? Because puppies love people. It's pretty simple, right? If you greet someone like you freaking love seeing them, you're going to build a much better connection. If you're thinking about what makes this person amazing, and you treat them like a rock star, and you greet them like a puppy, you're going to build pretty good rapport, and you're going to connect with people. If you agree with me, say yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move forward. So, leaders lead with questions, not answers. Leaders solve problems, they teach. Okay, so when we were talking last about leaders taking responsibility for the energy they bring to the world. We talked about being engaged for other people, and the other thing I want to stress is to be the bar. Like when it comes to standards, about how you think, how you act, anything, you want to be the bar for other people. You want to set the standard. If you're living within normal standards, you're not going to live an extraordinary life. That's one of the things that fuels me every day. I literally want to do things that normal people will call me crazy for. In fact, my goal is to actually do things that positive people, like the people in this room, will call me crazy for. If I think I'm freaking crazy, then I'm probably not going to live a really exceptional life. Does that make sense? If I'm living within the standards of normal people or somewhat above average people, I might get a somewhat above average life. Does that make sense? And so I'm always obsessing over the difference between good and great, and that's the next one. Leaders obsess over the difference between good and great. They obsess over the gap. They don't say, oh, this is going well. They literally think about what is the difference between the good and the great. What is making the difference between someone doing fairly well and amazingly well? And they obsess over finding it, and they obsess over constantly searching for it and improving it and tapping into it. They don't just settle for the good, they're always looking for the great, right? They're always relentlessly pursuing the next level opportunity. Does that make sense? It's about the pursuit of greatness. You could also say that they're fanatical about the pursuit of greatness. Now, I use these words, obsessed and fanatical, because if you're not obsessed and fanatical, then you're probably within a normal standard. I'll use a story. So, a couple weeks ago, I woke up, it was like 4:30 in the morning, I woke up randomly, like go to the bathroom, and I'm like, you know, I can go to sleep right now, or I can do something crazy. I'm going to freaking read. I'm just going to read a whole book. I'm just going to read it till it's done. I just sat down and freaking read. It was like noon. And I'm like, I've been reading for like a while. Here's this book. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm freaking crazy. Like if I told people that I just woke up at 4:30 on a Saturday that I had nothing planned on, and I had nothing to do till Monday at like 4 p.m., they would be like, what the hell are you doing? Go to sleep. Right? But that's the goal. I want to take massive action. I want to do things that people think are a little bit over the top, or a little bit obsessive. Why? Because I don't want to settle for the same life that they're going to have. Unless you're pushing the envelope of people's standards or of your standards, then you're going to get what your standards get. Like wherever you are right now, there's a next level for you. How many of you would agree?
Yeah.
And where you are right now is a direct result of your thinking. Think about that for a second. Where you are right now is a direct result of how you've been thinking, the patterns you've been thinking. And if you want to get to a new level, you absolutely must change your thinking. I don't care if you're doing really well or really poorly, you got to change your thinking. Your level is, your ceiling is set by your level of thinking. That's why your circle of influence is so powerful. They determine how you think in a lot of cases. So what I'm getting at is that if you want to take your life to a new level, how many of you want to take your life to a new level this year? Say yeah.
Yes.
If you want to take your life to a new level, something about the way you've been thinking has to change today. And so if you know what it is, take a second to write it down. If you don't know what it is, take a second to think about it. Something that you have been thinking about, something in your standards needs to change. Because until your thinking changes, nothing else will. Your life won't change, your business won't change, your relationship won't change, your health won't change. You can't go back to the same patterns of thinking and expect to get a different life. And so that's why, for me, last year I read 61 books, because I decided that, you know what, I need to change my level of thinking, I need to change what's big, and if I commit to a number, the number was 50, I decided I was going to read 50 books, and I hit it really early. I probably should have read 80 books, I just slowed down, right? But just the idea of saying, you know what, that's a really cool challenge to take on, it's probably going to demand changing the way I think a lot. But it's better than running a marathon. You know? I get people going out like, I'm going to run a triathlon. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to read 50 books. Good luck with that. Hey, whatever floats your boat. What I'm getting at is that if you don't put yourself in a situation that demands a different level of thinking, you're going to keep living the same type of life. And so when you leave here tonight, think about the life you've been living. Think about where you are. Think about what level you're at, what level you want to get to. And think about how the way you've been thinking, the stories you've been telling yourself led to where you are. Whoever you think you are is why you live the life you have. Because if you had a different image of yourself, you'd be attracting a different life. I remember when I first started working with our company, and I was doing pretty well, I basically spent 4 years at exactly the same level. Right? I hovered in like the 60 to 75 grand a year range all through college, thinking that was a lot of money. Right? And it was simply because I kept trying to be the #1 college student in my company, and I never thought about just becoming the #1 person in my company. It wasn't the identity I wanted to own. I never thought about it. I kept saying, I just want to stay where, like that was, I want to be this person. This is who I'm being day to day. See, people's behaviors are always a reflection of the identity they give themselves. So whatever identity you've been telling yourself right now, whoever you think you are, is a direct reflection of the way you're thinking. If you want to go to the next level, you got to change the story you're telling yourself about who you are. Does that make sense? Yeah. Donald Trump loses all his money. What's he do? He makes it all back. Why? Because he's a billionaire. That's what he does. Right? That's his identity. He's not just like, oh, I'm some guy that made him some lot of money and now I'm broke. His identity is like, this is what I do. That's me. That's who I am. I'm going to find it. You look at Michael Jordan. He's a wreck right now. If you guys ever see Michael Jordan, he's a wreck. Why? His whole identity was being the greatest basketball player ever. He hasn't been able to play basketball for 10 years. Right? Imagine, I just saw an interview with Tom Brady's parents. And they said, you know, the thing we fear the most is that he'll never find something he's as passionate about as football. Pretty deep, right? And whether you like the Patriots or not, this dude's pretty passionate. Am I right? If you ever watch football, dude's pretty passionate. So what I'm getting at is that wherever you are right now, whatever story you've been telling yourself, if you change it, you change what you think, you'll change your life. And the last thing that I'll share with you is leaders obsess over task completion. They obsess over task completion. They're obsessed with getting the next thing done. Right? When you have an idea and you just act on it, Ryan talked about leadership talks. I was like, dude, it's a good idea, I'm going to help. Right? Boom, we went from 130 likes to 5,000 overnight pretty much. Right? I was like, I'm going to do like a couple things and make sure that he gets a lot of likes. And when 2 days later, he's like, dude, is this real? I was like, kinda. Right? Right now, we got how many likes on there?
Almost 6,000.
Almost 6,000. Right? It's hovering at 130 for I don't know how long, but a while. And so what I'm getting at is that leaders take responsibility for getting tasks completed and doing them fast. They know the universe rewards speed. You have an idea, you have a thought, you have something, inclination, you take action on it. You have a thought, I should call this person, call them right now. I should meet with this person, let's schedule it now. Not this and say, wait, can we go grab a drink? Because I like that. Right? Does that make sense though? You gotta take action on these things. You gotta take action immediately. You gotta decide that whatever it is that you've been delaying in your life, that you know will take you to the next level, do it tomorrow. Or do it tonight. I'd like to say do it today, but I'm like, yeah, you know, some of you might start tomorrow. So, just being honest with you. But here's one last tip. I'm going to leave you with one last tip, and then that's pretty much it, because I'm sure that some of you feel like the Tasmanian devil just like flew around the room. Right? My last tip, okay, is that whatever your goal is, when you wake up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself your goal. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself your goal. Because it's almost impossible to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to accomplish this, but I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to accomplish this, but I'm going to take a nap first. I'm going to accomplish this, but I'm feeling a little bit tired. I'm telling you, take the time to look yourself in the mirror and just say, here's what I'm freaking doing. You guys are lions. Are you guys lions? Yeah. All right, if you guys are lions, let me hear you roar on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. You guys are freaking lions, right? And if you don't take the time in the morning to look yourself in the mirror and roar, then sometimes it's really easy to forget that you are a freaking lion. And so, the last thing I want to leave you with is never forget that you're a freaking lion. And when you surround yourself with more freaking lions, you guys destroy jungles, right? You guys run stuff. And so, hopefully you guys got some ideas, hopefully you guys got some different ways of thinking, hopefully you got some things about connecting and about leadership, and you realize that, hey, if you just run with more lions, if you just focus on connecting with people and building a deeper relationship with the right people, with the lions in your life, and you focus on realizing that leadership is about helping other people get what they want in their life, then I promise you, you're going to take your life, you're going to take your business, you're going to take your relationships to the next level. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah! Does anybody have questions for Aaron? How did Aaron learn about asking people to ask about having such a great question?
That is a great question. I learned from a friend of mine named John Broman. John Broman is the #1 college speaker in America. He runs an amazing foundation. Like, he's worth looking up. Runs an amazing foundation called the Front Row Foundation. He's literally the best speaker I've ever heard, and I've been to I don't know how many seminars, but the most authentic person I've ever met. Watch a YouTube video of him, 2 minutes in, you'll be like, I love that guy.
Name again?
Right? John Broman, J-O-N-V-R-O-M-A-N.
How do you keep all that information inside?
You know, I write like 27 pages, and then I just, whatever comes out. You know?
I see somebody in the back, Boston Day.
Why are the New England Patriots so awesome?
Because they're from Boston.
Right. Because we got the greatest leader running our team.
And because there's not a team in Orlando.
What's your biggest challenge? What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night is focusing on growing and finding more lions on my team. It's aligning with more people. I know iron sharpens iron. I know, like, one thing I meant to talk about that we talked about in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks about the bus. He talks about the bus, and he says great leaders get the right people on the bus before they decide what direction to go. And I'm a big believer that if you have the right people, 3 things happen. And I'll try to name the 3 things, but I might not know because they're on my notes that are sitting over there. So the 3 things that happen, though, is that it's easier to adapt to changes in the world. Right? You have the right people, they'll adapt. The second thing is you don't have a problem with motivation. You don't have to worry about motivating and getting people. Like, I know that anyone I bring on my team that's a freaking hustler will figure it out. And if I keep telling them, hey, you know how to figure this out, you're on a team because you know how to figure it out, I'm not going to solve your problem. Go figure it out. Go learn how to figure it out. Go learn how to solve the problem. You're in charge. You're accountable to the result, but I'm not micromanaging how you get there. I want you to empower yourself. If you fall on your face, you fall on your face. But me teaching you is the same as you falling on your face, except you never learn. So go out there, learn, find the answer to your question. Here's 3 other resources you might be able to look at. Go solve it, right? And then by doing that, you teach people to be bigger lions, grow them a little bit bigger so they can handle more problems and they can help empower you. And the third thing is that if you have the wrong people, even when you go in the right direction, you're never great. So you have a decent circle of inputs, you can motivate a bunch of sheep. And like you said, like a lion leading deer is better than a deer leading lions, but lions leading lions is way better. So my opinion is, why the hell would you surround yourself with deer? You know, let them go eat grass, whatever they do, right?
So do you spend more of your energy looking for leaders, or do you keep open-minded and, you know, try to turn followers into leaders? Because that's huge.
I think it's all about looking for talent. You know, and there's a lot of conversation you can have about what talent is and what talent's not, but it's looking for people that have high standards, that keep pushing the bar, that challenge your thinking, that they speak in a language of achievement and goals, right?
So
It doesn't sound like rhetoric. You're looking for the right type of people, and you spend more time with them. Even if they're not part of your organization, like you go out of your way to spend time with leaders because the way they think will impact the way you think. So me sitting with someone that's a great leader in whatever they do, it's going to change how I'm thinking. Me sitting with you guys and masterminding about stuff, it's going to impact me more than sitting with some random person talking about bullshit. So, you know, it's not always about like finding the next leader for your organization. It's about being around leaders and aligning yourself with leaders. And when there's an opportunity, you move. Like one of my business partners for a project I'm working on is someone that like 2 weeks into me, the person was like offered to be a business partner and told me that, you know, that they would apply for the position and to make a list of everything I'm looking for in a business partner, and they would send me exactly what they would bring to the table, and I could evaluate them and everyone else. And I was like, dude, honestly, I already know. You know, you already know. You already trust your intuition. You already know if energy's right. And I'm a true believer that you go where energy flows. If you connect where you're at, if you connect, not just say like, oh, I like this person, yeah, it's cool, right? But you connect, that's when the right stuff happens.
All right, so obviously you have high standards. I want to know on both a business level, financial level, and lifestyle level, what would be the biggest goal you would want to attain for yourself?
The biggest goal I want to attain for myself is a wonderful question. You know, I can talk about something like a physical, measurable goal, or I can talk about a monetary goal, or I can talk about a goal of impact or contribution, but really, my biggest thing for me is like knowing and having the personal pride, knowing that every morning I woke up and I improved myself. Like I truly believe that. You guys ever play like a video game that has like levels, like everyone has a rating and certain skill sets? You guys know what I mean, right? 0 to 100, right? If your scale goes from 0 to infinity in life, right? You're always growing or you're dying. Well, each day, like you don't know how many days you have. But if I want to improve myself as a person, and I'm a level 20 person, I want to become a level 21 today, then I either like hit it or I did it. And each day that I don't move forward is one level I'll never get to. It's one level I'm never going to be able to achieve. And so I'm motivated personally by every day waking up and knowing that, you know what, whether I did great today, whether I fell on my face, whether the world kicked me in the teeth, or whether things went great, you know, I know that I put my all on the table. And I know that me putting my all on the table, there's a word called faith that a lot of people take religiously, and I don't believe that I don't not believe in, you know, how they take it, but I believe there's more to just the word faith is in faith in yourself. Like I have faith that I can react to my challenges. I have faith that I can respond the right way. So I'm not looking to control all the problems that could come in my path or to control my challenges or to avoid obstacles. I'm looking to control myself because the key is to grow yourself bigger than the challenge, not to avoid the challenge. Does that make sense? I use an example. If you're a level 5 person, you get a level 7 challenge. Is it a big challenge or a small challenge? It's a big one, right? But you're a level 5 person, you get a level 3 challenge. Is it a big one or a small one? It's a small one. But if you're a level 5 person, you get a level 10 challenge. Or sorry, you're a level 10 person, you get a level 5 challenge. Is it big or small? No, it's not even a challenge. If you drive home tonight and a bug hits your windshield, are you going to freak out? Are you going to get out of the car and be like, oh my God, there's stuff flying around. I don't know where to go. This is kind of dangerous. Things are hitting my windshield. I'm going to just walk home. None of you are going to do that. Now, I know it's exaggerated. But what I'm getting is that it's something you just flick the button, it flicks it off your windshield. There's no challenge. If you grow yourself bigger in your challenges, small things are not challenges. Like those of you that sell stuff, cancellations are not challenges when you get good. It's like, okay, I'm going to make more phone calls. Done. You know, no show is not a challenge. New people, what the heck? I called this person for 3 weeks, they didn't even show up. Right? They freak out. What did I do wrong? Why am I doing this? Is this career for me? Is this going to work out? Right? But it's always never about your challenge, it's about the size of you. It's never about the size of your challenge, it's always about the size of you. It's about growing yourself bigger than your challenge. So my biggest thing daily is knowing that today I put everything I could on the table to grow myself bigger than whatever challenges can come in my path today, tomorrow, or in the future. And I truly am inspired by that more than any one goal. I mean, I can tell you what my goals are, but that's really, I know that the rest will fall into place.
Nice.
You know?
Last question there.
How quickly or how do you weed out the people that are in line, that don't fit your mentality? You have to have some sort of
priorities. There are people that you can completely weed out. There's people that are like your brother, and you're like, dude, my brother's negative, but like, he's my brother, I'm not going to disown him. Right? Now, adopted brother, you might be able to, right? No, I'm kidding. But the idea is just to focus on it, to just like an easy exercise to do is who's my top 5? Or who's in my top 8 right now? You can come up with different top 8s. Right now, if you thought about who are the top 8 people that impacted my business, Who are the top 8 people that impact my life? I just did this exercise last weekend. I wrote down my top 8, and I wrote down exactly what I'm going to do to reach out to the top 8. Who are my top 8 in my personal life? Who are my top 8 outside of my family? Who are my top 8? You can do 5, you can do 7, pick a number, it doesn't matter. Right? I think 8's a good one. Right? But who are 8 people that actually freaking matter? And what am I doing to connect with them? Like, one thing I love to ask the people that I coach is, if you gave me your schedule today, could I tell what your priorities are? If you gave me your calendar, if you showed me the last 3 weeks, could I tell what your priorities are? So when it comes to spending time with the right people, if you can't hand your schedule to a third party, objective third party, they can't say, this is what matters most to him, then the universe doesn't know it either. You know? So if you can't look at your schedule and you hand it to someone, they can't say, oh, this is really important to this person, then how the heck's the world going to know? You can think that like your relationship are most important, like my relationship with my family is most important, but I've spent 0 hours in the last 3 weeks on my relationship with my family, or 10 minutes in the last 3 weeks, and I spent 180 hours on my business. Okay, well it's 180 hours versus 10 minutes, that's a huge gap. Like, is it 1,000% better, more important in my life? Just an example. And it doesn't always have to be like hour per hour, but it's the value of your time. So that would be the biggest thing, is just realizing and prioritizing and knowing, like, here's the people I focus on, here's the people I don't let into my life or into my schedule at a certain time. So it could be as simple as like, this person's negative, but I have to talk to them, I don't talk to them during working hours. Like, I'm very militant with my time in the day. Like, people I don't want to talk to, they were not going to reach me. I'm not offended. I don't care if they're offended by me not picking up the phone. You know, I'm very busy, I'm very militant with my time, and I hope they respect it. If they don't, we don't get along anyway. But like, people like we get along with, like, if I call him, like, I know that Zach, if I call him, like, he's going to call me back eventually. If I call him at 12, he might call me at 7:30, he's just walking out of the office. You know, it might be 8 o'clock, he's just walking out. But he'll call me, but I'm not sitting there like, damn, what the heck did Zach ever call me? Right? I'm not offended. Because I know this dude's a hustler. Right? Lions respect lions. Right? Sheep dabble in sheep talk. Like, they always say you can't soar with the eagles when you're clucking or with the chickens or when you're pooping with the pigeons, if you will. It's the same thing. Like, small people talk about small stuff, big people talk about big stuff. So when you think about it, like, if you're surrounded by small people, it's going to be pretty obvious. Like, it's getting more time with the right people, having the right conversations, and pushing the small people out. Let them work with other small people. You know?
Thank you guys. Once again, thank you for coming out to Leadership Talks. This is your leadership platform. You know, we just want leaders to come out here, grow, motivate, and connect with each other. We are here every third Wednesday of the month, same time, same place. We'll have a little snacks for you, a little bit of water. We don't have any social element of drinks in the facility during the event, just for the simple fact that, you know, we want you to connect, grow, and listen to some speakers. However, we usually do have some type of social element afterwards. I usually set it up with a local bar downtown. Tonight we all picked Bullet Bar downtown. So if you want to connect, like Aaron talked about, and get a little bit to know about more people, we'll be out at Bullet Bar right after here. So once we wrap it up, we'll all head out there, have a few drinks, and connect. So, but Bree, thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.